Hey everyone, welcome to the Ask Nicole weekly live stream. My name is Nicole Willette, and I own a marketing company called Breaking Even Communications, which has been doing marketing services for businesses and nonprofits for 14 years. It started off as just me, but now we're a team of 5 people, so we get to do some really interesting projects, and part of the results from those projects inform these videos. If you like this sort of thing, you can scroll back wherever you're watching this now and see past episodes. But if you want kind of a more organized way to browse, I suggest either going on the YouTube channel where we have playlists, or you can go to our website, go to the blog part, and we have everything by category and tag. So if you want to learn more about Facebook, or if you want to learn more about just social media marketing in general, those are the ways you can do it. So today's topic, I like to vary between sort of web stuff and marketing stuff because I don't know, it's nice to see kind of what people are interested in. And this topic, evaluating returning website visitors, came up. Actually, it was a question not asked to me. I was on actually LinkedIn. I'm in several LinkedIn groups, but this one was sort of a web development-y LinkedIn group, and someone asked the question about website visitors in a way that I wasn't sure whether they were talking about people coming back and repurchasing products, or whether they just meant people just coming back to the website in general. And they clarified and said coming back to the website in general. And that got me to thinking, how many of us think about our returning visitors? It's so easy to concentrate on getting new people to come to our website, getting new people to get to know our business, that we don't think about the people who return, why they return, and how to get them to return more often. So that's what today's broadcast is going to be all about. So, an interesting stat actually, after I decided this was going to be the topic, like the next day or so, I got a newsletter from Hello Alice. So I don't subscribe to a ton of newsletters, but this is one I like. And it basically said that loyal customers spend 67% more than new customers. And I thought that was really compelling. It makes sense when you think about it, right? People who know you, like you, and trust you are going to buy more things from you. And you know, thinking about how to please them or how to get to them to come to your website a little bit more often is something I think that's worth thinking about as business owners, as website owners. So I'm going to give the really simplistic answer first, but then we're going to go into some actual strategies and how to see who's coming to your website. But the main kind of takeaway that from just my experience and also from learning from other people is that the easiest, and I put it in quotes because it's not easy to do this. It's just what I mean is that it's not super technical. It doesn't necessarily require you to change a lot to be able to do this, but having a reason for people to come back to your website. So a lot of times people will use a blog as an example. So for today's, I guess, stats, I didn't want to look at one. I have 3 websites that are sort of quote unquote mine. 2 of them have a blog and one of them does not. So I thought that I would pick the one that does not to do the traffic on, because I felt like that would be more representative to more types of people. So giving people regular new content, regular new information to come back to is a surefire way to get people to return to your site because they have a reason to. Now, you may ask yourself sort of what's normal, like what's a normal amount of returning visitors? And before I get to that, let me just show you how you would see what your returning visitors are like versus your new visitors. So if you use Google Analytics, and by the way, I'm going to just, put these overlays while I'm talking. I apologize to the mobile people because this probably isn't a fantastic mobile experience, but what I wanted to show with these screenshots was how to navigate to these different places within Google Analytics. So I wanted to include, because the menu is on the left side, I wanted to kind of include that in so people could see how to do it. So if you go under Audience and Overview and click on that, you'll get this kind of general screenshot. Now, as you see here, this is, a year-long period. You can change how long you're viewing any stats in Google Analytics by going in the upper right corner, clicking on the little drop down, and you can actually select whatever dates you want, however long Google Analytics has been on your website, of course. So I just went a year because I didn't want to go too far back, but I wanted to get enough data. Like a week was not going to give us a fair picture of what was really going on. So here's my audience overview. And you see in the lower right corner, there's new visitors versus returning visitors. And again, I'm sorry that's so small, but 8.2% of my visitors are that little green slice of that pie chart. They are returning. And so that means, hold on, I can do this, 93.8% 92.8%. Oh my God, I'm really bad at simple math in my head. 92.8% of my visitors are new visitors and 8.2% are returning. Okay, I totally did that wrong, but you get the idea. Now, looking at that, you may be asking, like, what's a normal number of repeat visitors? Having looked at probably hundreds of people's Google Analytics reports over the years, I would say like 10 to 20% is like within the order. I would say closer to 20 for if you have like a blog or something or something that changes regularly. I'd say closer to 10 if you don't. So as you see, like my little 8% on this website that doesn't have a blog is within the order of magnitude that we sort of expect. Could it be better? Absolutely. And we're going to get into that obviously next. But I just wanted to say if you were looking at your report and you're like, I don't even know what's normal, obviously you're going to implement maybe some of these things that you see today. And if it changes, then you'll know that it helped. But this way you have an idea of kind of what's normal for other people. But your normal is obviously the most normal. Now, I think the first, so there's a few steps I think we're going to take in looking at things in Google Analytics. And actually, before we do that, what I want to do is I want to just show you how you can make it so that your Google Analytics shows you only the data from repeat visitors. And it's using something called a segment, which you may or may not be familiar with. So this is Google Analytics. And as you see here, I'm on, there's these little circles. When you go here, there's all users, and then there's add a segment. So what we're going to do is click add a segment, and there's a bunch of predetermined segments. But if we know that we're looking for returning, so there's returning. Oh, there we go. Returning whatever. That's fine. And I'm going to click apply. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to give me it's comparing. And look, new visitors are 14%, 14% returning, whatever. And in the second thing, they are 100% returning visitors, which is what we expect. Now, let's just say we wanted to only not look at these in relation to each other. We could just get rid of this. And so returning visitors are about, apparently, according to the last week, 14.29% of my audience, which is why it was important that I went back a year, right? And I could see a bit more of a history of my returning visitors because, one week, this week is a little bit higher. Some weeks will be a little bit lower. But we see here our little pie chart is 100% returning visitors. So we know we're doing things right. So there is a way you can exclude returning visitors and things like that. Now, you can also make other segments for other things. I worked with a university, and what they did is they excluded all traffic from sort of people that were on the campus. So they excluded like sort of campus IP addresses so that they could see, what are sort of outside people looking at versus internal people. You can make segments for all kinds of different things, but I did want you to know you can make a segment for returning visitors. So I think step one is to understand what your repeat or your returning visitors are doing, not just your new traffic, because they do behave differently. And I'll give you an example. Here is my overview for all of my visitors. Okay. And as we see here, we're getting an idea of, and then here is my overview for returning visitors. And we have a little bit so we can compare, for example, session duration of everybody, average session duration. I'm sort of looking at the sort of lower left-ish side of my screen here is 44 seconds, right? Average visitor spends 44 seconds. When I look at my returning visitors, it's 1 minute and 54 seconds. So that's a fair bit different. They're spending longer. They're looking. So we can do that. It's not just for overview. We can go to every single part of Google Analytics and we can look at what are returning or repeat visitors doing when they get to the site. And some things I pulled up. So for example, and again, I went back a year for this data. I went to my geolocation. I have offices in Maine and New York State. So hopefully those are the biggest, and they kind of are. Although, Massachusetts looks pretty big too. It makes sense. A lot of those folks come to Maine in the summer. And we can see all kinds of things. Again, I just kept on that returning visitor segment. And I looked under behavior and frequency and recency. And I said, okay, like when they return, how often do they return? So obviously, count one session as zero because I'm only looking at return visitors, right? So people who only came once are going to be counted in this zero times. That makes sense. But as you see, most people come to the website twice. But and there's really actually, hold on, let me get rid of this banner because there is there is 49 sessions of over 100 visits in the last calendar year. So I know what you're thinking. Those people are obsessed. But if we think about it, so my computer has an IP address, I have a second computer and have a phone. So probably 3 of those sessions are me. But, even if I exclude like, staff or people who, it would still be, there's still like 30-ish people who are coming to the website 100 times or more. I'm guessing that's our members. But to me, there's a huge group of people that I'm not really serving well. Maybe someone looked at the site and then came back to book, but they're not coming back more than twice. So I need to make some changes there. So, I can look at, how long they spend on the website. By the way, I love that it gives it to us in seconds. And as we've established, I'm not fantastic at math. So, in case you are also not fantastic at math, 600 seconds is 10 minutes. So we can see here that most people are spending, even returning visitors, 0 to 10 seconds. So I need to increase that a fair bit to start doing well. Um, so like I said, 600 seconds is 10 minutes. So so that's basically 10 minutes or more is the last 3 rows. So that gives us a bit of an idea of how many people are really spending time on the site. All this to say is that, and we can even, I mean, Google has so I have an idea of the gender and the age of people who are coming to the website. As usual, I'm more popular with women than I am with men. Not quite sure why that is. And the 25 to 34-year-old visitor is more likely. Now, obviously, Google is collecting data. And if we haven't disclosed to Google how old we are or something like that, there's a bit of margin of error in there, but at least it gives you a bit of an idea. And, there's all kinds of things we can look at. So besides, looking at, I guess, just general data and understanding who our repeat visitors are, what we want to do is know that what is working to get our repeat visitors to come back. So how are repeat visitors accessing our site? So Google Analytics has this area called acquisition, which basically answers the question, how are people getting to my site? And I just clicked on overview. So this is how how everyone, all users, as you see here with the little circle segment on the top, are getting to the website. So direct traffic being 61.9%. Now, anchorspace.com, that's pretty easy to remember. So I'm guessing that's a fair bit of it. So direct traffic, as you see here, is our largest source of new visitors. So let's switch this over to returning visitors. Now, don't be fooled. It's the same blue color, but that 54% is now referral traffic. So referral traffic is what's getting us most of our visits in a return way. So all this to say is that if we look at all of our visitor data versus our returning visitor data, we do expect to see different things. Oops, hit my microphone there. So what we want to do is we want to understand how are repeat visitors getting to our website? How many pages are they looking at? How long are they staying? What are they looking at? That kind of thing. And the second thing we want to do, once we understand what people are doing, we want to get rid of any obstacles that are in their way of, maybe wanting to come back beyond a second time in my case. So what we might want to do is fix any functional issues, like, maybe a certain page loads slow, maybe there's some broken links, maybe there's an actual, reason functionally that they're not coming back. So what we can do if we want to sort of track issues is, we can set up a free account on Google Search Console, which will kind of check things in an ongoing way, make suggestions, that sort of thing. But if that process intimidates you and you want to just run some quick diagnostics, I'll put this link, by the way, when we post the show notes, but I'll put it on the screen now. On our website, we have 10 diagnostic tests for your website. It tests things like accessibility, load time, that sort of thing. So if you fix some of those issues, a lot of times that will improve the experience for visitors, which will make them want to come back. So assuming that, you've made sure that you don't have a page that's not taking like 8 seconds to load or something like that. Um, you know, the third thing we want to do is we want to check out our exit pages to see if there's anything on that particular page that's a little bit off-putting. So you may ask yourself, well, how do I know um, where my exit pages are? Well, there is a section in Google Analytics called exit pages. It's under behavior, and we can see what pages people exit on. And what we might want to do is look at those pages and see if there's anything on them that might be problematic. Now, in our case, so our homepage was the largest exit page. So how can we get people to stay on our homepage? Do we direct them in a different way? Do we say like, are you thinking of becoming a member? Is there some way that we can sort of welcome them better on the homepage? The booking the conference room page, they are looking at booking the conference room. Maybe they're seeing the price, or maybe they're seeing it's not available, but maybe there is something about that booking page that we could sort of make more friendly and approachable that makes people want to stay. Now, I do have, so if you're not like into tables, the other thing that you can use, and I am not a visual person, which is why this doesn't really, I see this and I get a little overwhelmed, but sometimes I show people this and they love it. It's called behavior flow. Again, it's under behavior. And we can see, and if you actually hover over these things, it'll tell you the numbers of people that are exiting that page. And so if we have a super high exit rate at a certain point, we can sometimes see problems. Now, I'll tell you a little story about a client I had who had an exit page problem that we were able to spot and sort of fix. So they had a hunting, fishing guide kind of website. And what we noticed was one of the top exit page was like 2017 fishing licenses or something. Well, let's just say it was that. The problem was it was 2020. And so what happened was a third of the website traffic was coming into this 2017 fishing license page. I don't know. And they were saying, oh, this says 2017. It's 2020. This site hasn't been updated in a while. I'm leaving. So what we ended up doing was just redirecting that 2017 page to just the fishing license page in general, so that would stay up to date. And so that way, no matter where that traffic was coming from, I don't know whether someone linked to it somewhere or whatever, we were able to sort of redirect sort of that traffic where a third of the people were exiting the site to something that was a more useful page. So looking at your exit pages can tell you if there is a problem, because maybe somebody is getting to some incorrect information. They just need to be redirected, or maybe that page just needs to be updated. So look at your exit pages and ask yourself if there's a problem. Now, if you're like too close to the situation, the other thing you could do is you could do a little bit of usability testing, whether you want to use a website to hire some people to do it, or whether you just want to buy friends a gift card and have them test it and then tell you, have them do something and then have them report back. You can even have them record their screen as they're doing it and kind of talk through what they're thinking. Sometimes just having someone else look at something is immensely valuable. So if you've done those things, and let's say you've done all those things, what you're going to want to do now is think, okay, how can I, implement some things to get people to come back to my website? So I wanted to talk about what some of those were. I'm sure that you've seen some of these before, but maybe you haven't necessarily considered them for your website. And the first thing I want to talk about is push notifications. So no doubt if you've been to like a news website, that those are the places I notice them the most often. You'll see like a sort of like, enable push notifications. So when there's a new blog post or something, it'll pop up in the person's browser. Now, what I thought was interesting as I was, researching for this broadcast is that, WP Beginner, actually, I was looking for a way to do this in WordPress. So WP Beginner basically says that its top 5 sources of traffic come from their push notifications on their website. And this Push Engage is this free WordPress plugin. You can have up to 500 push notification subscribers before you start having to pay. I feel like that's like enough to kind of see if that would help people get back to your website. But push notifications can be an excellent way for people to kind of stay in touch with your website. It's like subscribing to a newsletter, but it's a little bit less of a commitment because it just pops up in your browser when there's something new. Another thing, obviously, you can do is having some kind of customer or loyalty program. Obviously, this works if you have like an e-commerce website or something like that to get people to come back, and it incentivizes financially, usually anyway. I guess you could give them free swag or something, but it incentivizes people to come back to your website in that way. Obviously, having email subscription or social media following, and you linking back to your website from those places is a good way to get repeat visitors. And the two other things which I thought you'd like to see examples of, and one of them is a custom landing page. So I know that we're familiar with thinking about custom landing pages in terms of um, I'm just pulling up one of them here. I know we're used to thinking of them in terms of like you log back into a shopping website and it says, "Welcome back, Nicole. Here are the things you were looking at last time. Here are some other things like them." But there's a lot of different ways you can customize landing page content. So, and I will put this link also in the description. This is on mention.com. They have some examples, and I like that they're not just about shopping. So in this case, it's giving two examples. One is a CRM website, and it says, "Do you speak Spanish?" And then you click the Hola button. Or if you notice that the person is coming from a Spanish, speaking whatever, if you detect that they're in Spain or that they're, you can actually serve them up the content in Spanish. So obviously, you know, assuming that I'm a Spanish speaking visitor, which landing page do you think that would be more likely to convert on? Right? I mean, so in another example, further up in this article, they had like the example of, you're a pet website and you ask somebody, what kind of pet they have and like what size. So if I put that I have a dog that's 45 pounds, you're not going to suggest an extra small harness for me to buy, for example. So, you can customize landing pages in a variety of ways, and thinking about giving people custom content is a nice way. Now, instead, if you want to just say like, "Oh, I just want to make like one page that kind of aggregates everything together," I've seen a lot of times that people will have, especially bloggers will have, "Are you new here? Click here to see our best of," or whatever. So if someone's new to the website and feels just overwhelmed with content, they can go there. But if I was a repeat visitor, I just want to see kind of what's new on the website. And I thought this was a really interesting way to do it. So, one way that you can do it, obviously, is having a sort of, newest articles or something like that displaying, could be in the sidebar, could be on a separate page. But I really like this as an example. It could also be because I like Smitten Kitchen. So, on Smitten Kitchen's website, obviously, they're a food blog, and they have popular right now. So, they're pulling in popular posts, and there's the cookbooks. Um, and then there's the really, she's got quick links to her popular. So I can see right away kind of what's popular. But what I really liked about this site is there's this thing called Surprise Me. And if I click on it, it randomly brings me to a different. So this is a potato recipe from 2019. And if I click Surprise Me again, I can tell because of the URL. This is a homemade devil dog cake from 2008. So she's kind of repurposing her content here with this little surprise me thing, which makes it kind of fun. And yeah, I think that that's really cool. So kind of getting people, especially if you have a lot of content on your website, to kind of your best of section is a really nice way of sort of being considerate of them. And by having a new section, getting your people who haven't been to your website in a while to kind of what's new, click there, and I'm getting right to the things that I need to see. So yeah, and obviously I said at the beginning, having a reason for people come back to your site, whether it's some regular publication of new information or something like that, is also another way that you can encourage returning visitors, repeat visitors to your website. Because like I said, we all kind of concentrate on the shiny new visitors, but the repeat visitors are equally important. So let's think about them too. So thank you so much for watching today. If you like this, I hope you share it with a friend, or, feel free to also, follow us wherever you're watching this now. And we'll be back next week with another episode of the Ask Nicole weekly live stream where I answer questions about tech and marketing. So don't be shy. Leave your comments. You can also private message us if you have a more specific question. I'm happy to make you anonymous, of course, if you want that. And we're always looking for new stuff to talk about here today. So thanks again for your time. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. Take care.